love racing in Australia. Love the people there.
Well, that's one thing. Before we get out here, last subject. Safety. How about that? Because I believe you headed up that Sprint Car Council for safety at one point, correct?
Well, it was more than just safety. Safety was one silo of it, but we did start it. It was in an effort to just kind of get everybody on the same page on rules. I mean, it's you see what happens now with Lucas Oil late models and World of Outlaw late models, and they can agree on most things. They can't agree on all the things. So it was really just to try to unify everything to where everybody knew what was in each other's heads on rule packages to where if you were running an IRA race in Wisconsin, you were running the same stuff as the World of Outlaws or the All Stars or PA or California, and didn't have to sit there and buy two sets of different wings and this and that. It was just to try to get everybody on the same page. But the great thing about it was the safety side of it and the discussions we all had there. But I will say World Racing Group really kind of leads that still to this day, and I feel like all along, especially on the safety side, they've been the ones to lead the charge on all that. That's something that whether you like World Racing Group or don't like them, you got to appreciate what they've done for the sport. And it's not always financial gain. It's what's genuinely best for the competitors and the fans and the sport itself.
Well, I've always kind of been vocal about the sprint car in particular. I think it is a very in its essence a barbaric car. It hasn't changed or varied much. There's not really anywhere for anyone to go in these cars. The gas tank, the setup. I mean, you have an explosive device on an impact point of the vehicle. There's no other race car that is like that, really. Um, it is one of those things where it's almost like, is there a need for a new sprint car in the future, at least? Not a next gen sprint car. I was actually saying that. Something that redesigns the don't have to be much different. And there's a lot of issues with the cars aerodynamically and all these things that people don't like about them that could be addressed if you were to try to design a new car for everybody to base on. I did a Triple X tour. Australia has some different rules to where they have different graces where you have to have bars for halo position and under but they have a government, so they're able to implement rules instantly, or you don't race. But that is influenced by the insurance companies as well, which is what I think is really starting to ring on a lot of these local tracks and why they're shutting down. Because the more popular this sport's getting, the more aware the insurance companies of what's going on out there in the woods, and they're jacking the rates up. But regardless, I think that eventually there should be some kind of new design for this class of car. I mean, there's only so much you can do with the specs we have right now on them.
True. I think containment seats was a game changer.
But now the seats
It,
are too
it
big for the car. I mean, Aaron
yeah,
Reitzel got caught
I
in one
mean,
last year
there isn't,
because
yeah, there's not a lot of extra room in them for sure. I mean, I remember being in one of the meetings with the World of Outlaw groups, and we were talking about wings and what we could do to try to make them less air dependent. And I mean, I turned into the Antichrist in about 5 seconds when I said this, and I said, well, let's just take 6 inches of the wing length out of it. Just shorten the front of it up 3 inches, shorten the back of it up 3 inches, leave the width of the same, leave the boards the same. That way, visually, it looks almost identical. It's going to be such a small change that the fans aren't going to notice it, most likely. If they do notice it, it's such a small change that it's not going to turn them off to it. And I would say about two-thirds of the owners in there lost their minds. And I thought, all right, well, I'm going to just sit and keep my mouth shut from now on. But I was like, it was just such a simple deal. But you're right. The cars are pretty much the same as they've been forever. It's part of one of the things I do like about them, though,
right. Well,
too, is
that's the
I'm
appeal as
not so
well, right?
confident that people can't work on them. And I mean, when you can knock a front end out of it and change it in 2 minutes, that's a pretty cool deal. The fuel cells would be the one thing that I feel like the sanctioning bodies need to crack down on more. I mean, there is no reason that fuel cells should be flying off of a sprint car, period.
Well, but then somebody like Donnie will say he wants it to get off. He
We
wants it
don't
to
want
get away. You know.
Yeah, well, until you own a racetrack and you're sitting there thinking about
Yeah.
flying 31
Yeah.
gallons of methanol in a plastic tank through the air into somebody's lap.
Yeah.
I mean, that cannot happen. So for me, I mean, we assume that risk when we get in these cars. The fans don't assume that risk of that fuel cell flying over the fence, and but it shouldn't be coming out anyway, because when it comes off, it's leaking fuel everywhere. The caps should be better. We shouldn't be leaking fuel out of fuel cells
Well, and
when it
then
happens.
the cells themselves, there's only one that has any certification. I believe that's the best ATL. It's the lowest grade FIA certification there is. The rest of them are there's no SFI. I
Right.
I did a video with the guy about this, last year when the Angelique Bell scenario happened, because that's the other issue. Is it seems like we can have nobodies get hurt, but when somebody I mean, look at your situation at Oskaloosa. I mean, how many people had their ankles? Well, you had it really bad, but I'm just saying, how many people have been injured to that degree? But because it wasn't a somebody, we just keep on going.
Yeah, it seems like the higher profile person that gets hurt, the more that gets done afterwards. It's
Right.
like I remember,
But that's not how safety should be. It's supposed to be
no,
equality.
not at all. But it's like it always takes something happening for it to be on the front of everybody's mind. Then as time goes on and nothing happens, it gets pushed further back in your mind than before. Um, but the fuel cell deal, the fuel cell's coming out, axles breaking for no reason.
Yeah,
Like
that's
we're seeing
crazy.
weird stuff happening that we haven't seen in the past. The fuel cell thing's been going on for a while. Rear ends breaking
That
and
hasn't been happening. That's
that's not
new. That's the last 2 years.
that I feel like those two areas I feel like are the low hanging fruit that need to be addressed. But I mean, it's not bad manufacturers that are having it. It's just unfortunate problems, but they need to be addressed.
Well, and the
Unfortunately,
issue is source meddling. Where are you getting your sources from? It's like how organic are they, sourcing what mines are they actually getting new steel and components from to build these things anymore? Are they cheap before you even get them to start making the steel? I mean, that's the issue with any supply and demand is how long can we keep the supply going,
I mean, we had an axle break, and I don't know what the reason for it breaking. I'm not blaming the rear end company by any means for it, but it's if I sat there and have an option that I know I got a better product that is going to last, I would take that as a professional race team. When you're racing for points championships and you're racing these big races, you can't afford to drop out of races under any circumstances, let alone a big show. So if I know that I can spend more money on a product that I know is going to hold up, I would rather spend the
right?
extra money to have a quality product
Right.
than to sit there and try to, have something that's cheaper. But 10 guys down the street that run weekly at a weekly track may not be able to afford that. So, there's got to be that balance, obviously. But, when it comes to the safety side of it, I don't know that you can compromise that anymore. I mean, we're in this era where everybody's damn feelings get hurt for any or no reason, and we're all supposed to bend over backwards and kiss their ass to make them feel good. And you just got to be careful in this day and age about stuff breaking and, where it goes.
Well, and if it gets to a point where there could be 15 franchise teams, say, on each side of Outlaws and High Limit, then you could possibly look into doing for sure changes to at least that group of cars, and then maybe the new All Stars is like the old style or whatever, and but if you want to run here, here's what you got to have. Not maybe not a next gen. I think a new car design is needed. I think it's at what is it, 86 to 88 right now. I think if you could go 92 and maybe widen it out by 3 or 4 inches, it wouldn't look much different, but the things you could do safety wise with that much room would be immense.
I think the width would be, and I'm just this is just off
Well,
the
the
top of my
depth
head.
is the concern with the fuel cell and everything, because that's why everything's so tight like that.
Yeah, I guess if you have to lengthen it that way, but I would say for crashes and stuff, the width would be more important to me than the length of it would be at this point. I mean, if you can have the fuel cell manufacturers actually come up with something that's going to hold in a crash, if everybody has to do it, then it's not a weight advantage. If everybody has to use the same material in their mold to strengthen that, then it's not an advantage for anybody. But somebody has to mandate it and somebody has to regulate it. But